Star Wars, best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, a UK-based Star Wars podcast with in-depth discussions and analysis sprinkled with some silliness. I am the Geordie Jedi Pete.
And I am Jason Hondo Ling.
And we are back with a brand new episode of Star Wars. We're going to be diving into all of the news over the past week and a half of February so far. But first up, Jace, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Just been catching up with lots of Star Wars information. And yeah, just chilling, really.
Let's dive straight into the big story, I suppose. It's been on our lips the past two episodes of the podcast, and it was sort of Star Wars, the Mandalorian and Grogu, and the Super Bowl. And we did get the Mandalorian and Grogu Super Bowl advert. Jason, what were your thoughts on the advert?
Yeah, I was pretty stunned. Obviously, I was expecting a trailer, maybe a few little teasers of what we've got coming in the film. And instead we got a sort of homage to the old style beer adverts that they used to do. Obviously, very funny hearing Sam Elliott doing the voiceover. It was an interesting one. It was the video, the footage was quite cool. Obviously, in keeping with what we know from the trailers that we've seen or the teasers that we've seen so far, with the Ice Planet and obviously with Mando and Grogu. But yeah, it wasn't what I expected. But it's certainly the one thing it has achieved is it's got everyone who's interested in Star Wars and interested in this film talking about what are they trying to do to us.
So, they have. So everybody who was already talking about it is still talking about it, but nobody new is talking about it. I've got a lot of friends sort of in entertainment circles who, aren't necessarily Star Wars fans, but they're into movies, they're into American football, they're into professional wrestling, into things that all intertwine with this sort of circle. Like, not one of them's even mentioned this to me in passing. Like, oh, Pete, did you see that? What did it mean? Like, they're just not even aware of it at all.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So, I think, and like, yeah, it's cool to do a nod to classic big game beer adverts, but we're not selling cans of beer here to the American public. Like, we're meant to be getting everybody who has eyes on this excited about the movie, know the movie's coming out, but it's not made anybody excited about the movie.
Yeah, I completely
People are
agree.
talking about the movie, but it hasn't made anybody more excited for the movie, I would say.
No, definitely.
I just think, let's just talk about it first. So this was shot, it was directed by Jon Favreau, so it's not like from the movie, it was made for this Super Bowl ad. Thought the Tauntauns looked pretty cool. I thought, like, the aspects of the shot, like, it seemed fake. Like, it felt like it didn't feel like we were on Hoth or Ice Planet, wherever it is. Like, it felt like we were in a studio and, like, there was screens in the background showing the snow going past. Like those 50s movies where, like, cars are driving but not really driving, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely.
So I just feel that, like, I think they've, like, creatively, they've probably hit the brief and done it really well, what they were planning to do, which is good. My issue is with, like, the plan. And like I said, I'm really worried about this movie at the box office, and I think this movie's in trouble at the box office unless we get some serious marketing soon. Because even if this movie is, we've been told that the movie's probably going to be on the lower end of Star Wars budgets, which is a good thing, because like I said, I think it's going to be in trouble at the box office. But like this TV spot, depending on who you speak to, it costs between 8 and 10 million to put it on, not to mention like film it and create it. So you've got to add 10 million onto the box, 10 million onto the budget straight away.
Yeah, it. I have to admit, when I consider obviously the slot that they had to fill, the potential audience that they had, I think it really fell short of what they needed to do. Not necessarily what they were briefed to do, but what they really needed to do to promote the film.
Yeah, I don't just have like a big shot of like, even if you start with like a flashback, have Mando wielding the darksaber, something big and flashy and loud that is Star Wars as well. That gets like even people who aren't bothered about Mando and Grogu right now, they'll be like, oh wow, this is like action packed and wild. What's this? Like, do you know what I mean? Something like that. Like
Yeah,
the Mandos in the jetpacks flying around shooting each other. Like there's a lot of cool action sequences they've got in the bag. I don't know why you wouldn't use them to get eyes in your product, but you've gone very niche, which is fine if niche is going to do it. But my worry this box office is that like, does it make less than Solo? Does it make less than Fantastic Four did at the box office? Like I'm just yeah. Basically, what they're saying is that obviously the Mandalorian Grogu Super Bowl spot was directed by Jon Favreau. It gave a nod to classic big game spots of years past. That was explained by Lucasfilm's marketing brand lead Ryan Stankovic and Disney's executive VP of creative marketing Jackson George. What they've said is Grogu is more than a character. He's a pop culture phenomenon riding alongside the heroic Mandalorian. He brings lightness, humor, joy, and an instant emotional connection that transcends the moment, said Disney's executive VP of creative marketing Jackson George. This big game spot celebrates how deeply we love and connect with these characters, reminds us of the fun, heart, and spectacle that defines Star Wars, and offers a bite-sized promise of the experience audiences will get when they see the two beloved icons on the big screen. So they're giving it a lot of big talk there. My worry is that I think Grogu was a pop culture phenomenon. My question is is he still? And I'm not saying he's in the dumps, because he's not in the dumps, but he's not on the highs he was when he first came out. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's Grogu's on the shelf. No one's wearing Grogu t-shirts anymore. Like the general public. I mean, like, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And I still get people come up to me. I've got a Grogu in my office at work, and they're like, oh, like, what's that one again? Is that like the Baby Yoda? Like, no one knows his name apart from like Star Wars fans. So like, I feel that like he was a pop culture phenomenon, Grogu. He still has the potential to be, but that's definitely dwindled. Therefore, we need to like do some really good marketing here to get this back in people's minds. I don't know what your thoughts on any of that.
yeah. No, I think you're dead right. And obviously, it's been how many years is it now since the last series of Mando? Was it 3 years ago?
I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, he's certainly dropped out of the public conscious. So obviously they're pinning all their hopes on this one character and the popularity. And I think I hate to say it, but I think there's a certain amount of arrogance about how much they're relying on it. That there may be missing, as you said there, the point. He was this popular character a long period of time's now passed, and the target audiences might, or the potential target audience potentially don't know who this character is, so you need to get him back in sight before the film comes out, because I think you will find that it will struggle at the box office.
Definitely. Lucasfilm's marketing brand lead, Ryan Stankovic, said they wanted a Super Bowl spot that felt instantly iconic, cinematic, and quite essentially Star Wars. Our creative and marketing team landed on a unique concept that gave a nod to classic big game spots from years past. It captured the warmth, humour, and emotional connection between these two beloved characters and was the perfect next step for our campaign as we lead to their big screen debut this summer. So, just to get this straight, I think like they've obviously had a design brief. They've got a plan of what they wanted to do, and they've hit the plan by the sounds of it. Right, the plan was to create a spot that felt like the big game spots of years past. Certainly humorous nod creatively to, the beer adverts and things like that. they've done that, like, tick, well done. My worries are, like, that was maybe the wrong way to go. Because, again, I just don't think, like, nobody else is talking about this but Star Wars fans. And I mean, not just the, like, and this is like the big Star Wars fans. So I go to Comic Club once a month. I've just went Saturday, just gone, to pick up my comics. So it's, there's a lot of, like, people in geekdom and nerdom in there. Everyone in there's watched Star Wars, not necessarily Star Wars fans. Like, not one person, I'm known as, like, the Star Wars fan in the group. Not one person in the Comic Club this week went, "Oh, Peter, did you see what they did?" They're not even aware this happened. So I just think when the Mandalorian Grogu arrives on May the 22nd, 2026, like, are we looking at a box office of just a couple $100 million?
Certainly looking like that's the potential of what's going to happen.
And then if it does, what does that mean for future Star Wars films getting greenlit? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do feel that maybe I don't know how their mindset is working with this one, because on the opposite hand we're getting loads of, or we were getting, obviously it's gone quiet again at the moment, but we had quite a lot of info coming out about, and the hype about Starfighter, which is obviously a year away yet. It almost feels like they're pinning their, they've done the Mandalorian and Grogu, but they're pinning their hopes on Starfighter. But I get what you're saying. Will the damage done by Mandalorian and Grogu not being successful then hinder any future projects after we've got Starfighter?
Well, it's not even after Starfighter, is it? If you think about it now, so Starfighter's wrapped, it's now in post-production.
Yeah.
So, like, if Mando Grogu comes out and doesn't do very well at the box office, that means that the current track record for Star Wars at the box office, like, isn't good. So therefore, they're not going to be able to greenlight any projects for cinema. You're probably going to have to wait, and then if Starfighter comes out and does well, then they might start greenlighting some, but it's going to cause damage in that meantime, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. And that's what, that's what I'm saying. That's why I can't understand the mindset of why it feels like they've already given up on Mandalorian and Grogu before it's even hit. But what damage is that going to do by doing that?
Indeed. And I just think that, from what I've heard about the production, like, it seems like it's going to be a pretty cool and awesome and heartfelt story and a good adventure. So, until I see it, I can't judge it. But, I'm quite ready to have, like, a really, really cool movie and see a really, 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 really good adventure. But my worry is that who else sees it. And it doesn't matter how good it is, but if it doesn't have a box office, then it doesn't matter. Like, in terms of the Walt Disney Company, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
moving on from the Super Bowl ad, Sigourney Weaver has been talking about the Mandalorian and Grogu. She had this to say. It was quite a long statement. She put, "Over the years, I've learned that when you've been a part of stories people love, those stories never really let go, and neither do the imaginations around them. I've seen a lot of excitement and speculation lately, and while I'm always touched by it, I wanted to share something that is very real and very close to my heart. This May, I'll be appearing in The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I'm genuinely thrilled for audiences to finally experience it. Stepping into the Star Wars universe was something I never expected earlier in my career, and I felt like the right adventure at exactly the right moment. The film carries a wonderful balance of heart, humour, and danger, the kind of storytelling that reminds us why these worlds endure." What struck me most about this project wasn't just the scale or the legacy, but the intimacy at its core. At the centre of it all is connection between unlikely allies, across generations, and between duty and compassion. Working alongside such a talented cast and creative team was a joy, and watching Grogu continue to capture hearts is something truly special to witness up close. I remain endlessly grateful for the love that continues to surround alien, avatar, in so many other chapters of my life on screen. Those films shaped me, and I carry them with me always. But I also believe deeply moving forward in embracing new stories, new voices, and new galaxies. Thank you for your curiosity, your passion, and your willingness to come along for the ride, whatever it leads next. I can't wait to share this journey with you when the Mandalorian Grogu arrives this May. Love you all so much. So Sigourney Weaver talking quite in depth there about like her experience on the movie and a bit about her life as well and career. Touching stuff and wonderfully written. Wonderfully written. My worry is that like she's doing more to promote this movie than the actual company itself.
That's exactly what I was just thinking as you were reading that. I was thinking, you know, Sigourney Weaver in those few words has done more than any advert in the Super Bowl that cost them $10 million would do, which is why it feels crazy with what they've done.
Certainly, it certainly was. What I would have done is I would have sort of made sort of the little TV spots that pay homage to Super Bowl ads of years past in the build up to the Super Bowl. Just say like watch the Super Bowl, like here's what the Super Bowl's usually about, because our big trailer's going to be there, and then put the big explosive piece in the Super Bowl position, if that makes sense. And that way you hit both things. But yes, I mean I think I'm certainly rehashing the same thing now. So I think I'm going to stop. Have you got any closing thoughts about all of this?
No, I think you've just summed up, exactly what I sort of felt when I saw it. I actually saw it in a segment that had been edited where they'd added on the previous trailer, which is why when I saw it to begin with, I thought, oh, they've done something really clever here. And then as I was watching what I thought was going to be a new trailer, I thought, no, this is the old trailer. They've just added it on behind. So yeah, I think, as you say, if they'd have added on the trailer with some footage, that would have been a really clever piece of marketing. By not delivering on the trailer, I think they've dropped the ball.
I was thinking just the tone. Obviously, it was a fun tone, but it's like quite Christmassy in its feel. The movie's coming this summer, not Christmas, so let's not confuse the audiences as well, because they've got like the Santa sleigh type of feel to it. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's enough said. But moving on, we'll do some Lego. So Lego Star Wars Grogu. It's the Mandalorian Apprentice set has been revealed. This was at New York Toy Fair, so of course New York Toy Fair is just finished, I believe. So yes, as the doors opened, the Lego group revealed another set from the Mandalorian and Grogu. So there's 5 sets revealed before this one, which we're going to go and do. But this one is a 1,200 piece Grogu Mandalorian Apprentice. It's priced at £120. And essentially, it's a big build Grogu. I don't know if there's a correct term for that. I'm sure you can correct this, Jace. But when we get to it, and essentially this big giant Grogu comes with the Mandalorian shield on his belly. His face looks more like a gremlin to me, but I'll let you take it away. What's your thoughts on this set?
Yeah, I have to admit, out of all the sets that come out, this was probably the most underwhelming for me. I'll be honest, because they've obviously done Yoda in this style of set. They've done Grogu in this style of set before. They don't do a lot for me. They're fun if you want to display little statues. For me, the brickheads, which we'll talk about in a minute, are more fun, cheaper sort of way of doing it. To me, it looks quite ugly, like you say. He looks like a gremlin. It's almost a rehash of what they've done previously, slightly different build. It's obviously they're building on the fact that in this film, Grogu's very much the Mandalorian apprentice, where he's got this bit of armor. Start of his build of his own armor. It really, for the price point, it is not something I would even contemplate. It's just for me that one is the underwhelming one. It's just my personal choice on the type of Lego that I buy and the type of sets. But that I think is not what I want. Obviously, if you want to have a little model Grogu on your desk, then that's probably the set for you.
Indeed. Next up, obviously, as I mentioned, 5 other sets were revealed for the Mandalorian and Grogu. So these were priced between $34.99 and £140. They're available from April 26th, so they will be here before the movie comes out, which is good. That is one thing the marketing is doing right, is that these toy reveals are now ahead of the film and they will be on shelves before the movie, which is positive. So there's 4 new player sets and a brickhead set, as you mentioned, Jace. The first player set is a Lego Star Wars AT-RT Attack. Looks pretty cool. You get a little sort of gun turret, Imperial officer. You get Mando and Grogu, and you get sort of the AT-RT as well.
Yeah, this set, it looks fun. It's obviously something that would be a play piece mainly for younger kids. For the sort of kit, 40 quid or 39.99. For me, this is probably one that you'll end up buying for about 25 quid, maybe 30 quid eventually when the prices comes down. It's not one I would rush out to buy. It would be one if I saw it in the bargain bins. But for younger kids, it's probably quite a fun one to do. And obviously, you get the Grogu minifigure as well as the Mando. The Grogu I notice is the more traditional Grogu. It hasn't got the Mandalorian armor piece on it, so yeah, it's a fun set for the kids.
The next set is Lego Star Wars Anzalian Starship. So this is quite exciting that we learn that the Anzalians, which is sort of Babu Frick from The Rise of Skywalker and his species, we also saw them in the Mandalorian series when they recreated IG-11. So yes, the Star Wars Anzalian Starship. So they've got their own little starship, which is obviously fit right just for those guys to sort of be in the cockpit and fly the ship. So that's going to be interesting to see what sort of a starship for a smaller species looks like. So it's the Anzalians, you get Grogu, and you get maybe some battle droids that could be in there that have been reprogrammed. So what's your thoughts on the set, but also maybe the spoiler aspect that we know the Anzalians and Grogu are going to be flying around in this ship in the movie, maybe?
Yeah, the ship looks like it could be a bit of fun. Obviously, it's got the cockpit. You've got these tiny little Anzalians and Grogu, and as we said, there's a rather mismatched battle droid there, so it does look like they're going to be reprogramming a battle droid, which could be a, a spoiler for what we're going to see in the film. And if for me, that's actually quite a fun spoiler because I do love me Roger battle droids. So yeah, for me again, it's not a cheap set. It's not an expensive set. It's sort of middle of the range. If you like your starships, you might want to get it. Obviously, the minifigures are very, very tiny. And by the looks of it, as such, the build's not exactly huge when you see the tiny minifigures compared against the size of it. But it's one I suspect will be quite a popular one. 701 pieces, not bad. So yeah, it's one that again I wouldn't rush out to buy this. If I saw it at a decent price, I might be tempted. But it's one that I think is aimed more at the younger audience who they're hoping are going to enjoy the film and want to have a Grogu and Anzellan mash up afterwards.
The next set is Lego Star Wars The Razor Crest, and this is the new Razor Crest from the movie. 930 pieces. Looks like it's the new Razor Crest with more of the yellow markings on than his previous one. And looks like we get sort of the full gang with Mando, Grogu, we get Zeb Aurelius, and we get Sigourney Weaver as well as an Imperial Stormtrooper. What's your thoughts on this set? A bit more of a traditional set, you could say?
Yeah, this one, it's interesting because I've obviously got the original um, Razor Crest that came out with the TV series, which I really enjoyed building and I really liked. I've looked at the model here and it looks like it's definitely slightly smaller because I've seen a comparison shot of the two. So it's a slightly smaller build, and I don't know, but it still looks very similar to what I previously built. So I wouldn't necessarily rush out and buy this because obviously this one retails at 139.99, so it's not a cheap set. You know, when you look at that's almost the same price as you pay for the latest Millennium Falcon that they brought out from Rise of Skywalker and the also the Dark Empire type version that they did. So you're looking at a Millennium Falcon sort of price, and I definitely wouldn't compare this to the Millennium Falcon sort of build. So it's a difficult one. The one thing that I will say that really redeems this kit is the minifigures because the Zeb looks absolutely brilliant. You've got the Colonel Ward character of Sigourney Weaver that's done in the more relaxed uniform because we'll talk about the next set, which actually has her in a um, pilot suit, which I thought was great. So yeah, the minifigures are quite cool, and I think it's the minifigures that would actually sell this suit, this set to a lot of people. But the price for me and the sort of kit that you're looking at, obviously Lego is going up, as is everything else, because the cost of materials are going up and everything. So for me, Lego's starting to become a really expensive hobby. Um, but this one, just because I've got the original Razor Crest, I don't think I'd be, unless I can get this on a really good deal again, I wouldn't be tempted by this.
Indeed. And the next set is Lego Star Wars New Republic X-Wing Starfighter. So this is 558 pieces. It's around £60. And it looks like you do get an R2 unit with it, along with Carson Teva, and you do get Colonel Ward, but in X-Wing attire. Take us through this set, Jace.
Yeah, this one I do like because I love X-Wings. It reminds me of the X-Wing that I got a few years back, and that retailed at like nearly £100. So for me, a £60 X-wing, I think, is quite a good price. Even for the, when you look, this one's 558 pieces, and what for an extra, for almost twice the price, you're not even getting double the amount of pieces for the Razor Crest. So I think this is quite a reasonably priced set. It looks really cool and goes really well with the any other X-wings that you've got. But also again with me, for me, they've hit it on the head with the minifigures because the R2 unit looks really cool, really a little bit different, and the Colonel Ward and Carson Teva. Carson Teva is one of my favourite characters in The Mandalorian. I just think he's a lot of fun. I'd like to see more screen time of him. Um, and so for me, this really sells it because I'd love to get the minifigure. And the fact that you also get the Colonel Ward minifigure, I think makes it a really nice sort of collector piece to go with this film. So this one for me sort of hits it where I want it to be. So yeah, this is probably the one I'll go for out of all the sets that are coming out to go with the film.
And the last set is Lego Brickheads, The Mandalorian and Grogu, Allies and Villains. So this one is 661 pieces. It is around £35. When it comes out, you get 5 characters. So it looks like you get the Mandalorian, Grogu, Colonel Ward, Imperial Remnant Stormtrooper, and an Anzalian. So though it says allies and villains, you only really get one villain, unless it's hinting that one of the Anzalians is a villain, but I doubt it. But yeah, what's your thoughts on the Brickheads?
Yeah, this one I really do like again. As I've said in the past, I'm a bit of a fan of the Brickheads, like collecting them. They're quite often, they look very similar, but quite often the builds are a little bit quirky and a little bit different with each figure. So yeah, I quite like this set. It's reasonably priced at 35 quid as well. Especially when you look at the piece count in comparison to like the X-Wing. Um, I think they've done a good choice of characters. I would love to have seen Carson Tevere in amongst here. But obviously, the Imperial Remnant Snowtrooper is an interesting one. It's getting a lot of flack. Like a lot of people aren't necessarily liking the look compared to the original sort of Snowtroopers. But obviously, this is moving on from the Empire. It's the remnants. I think the way the helmet's done, it is almost like they're having to mix and match a few bits because obviously they haven't got the supplies that they had when the Imperials were at their height. So it's an interesting one. Mandalorian and Grogu. The only thing is, I've obviously got the Mandalorian and Grogu previously as Brickheads, although this one, obviously, the Mandalorian comes with the jetpack, which is something that hasn't been done before with him, and obviously Grogu is this new look with the little piece of armor across the front, so that's quite cool. The Colonel Ward character probably would have preferred her to be in the X-wing attire because it's a little bit basic with the other one. The Anzellan does look like a bit of fun to build, and it's got the eyepiece that comes down over, so that's slightly different. So this set again sort of does hit it for me because it's a nice little display piece with some really cool characters there. So again, this is one of the kits that I probably would look at getting. Probably for 35 quid, when you think you're getting 5 brickheads, normally you'd pay between £10 and £12 per brickhead. So you're getting a nice selection. Obviously, I know the Anzellan and Grogu are a little bit smaller, which is probably what's kept the price down. But as a whole, I think this is quite a nice little set. And obviously, for pre-teens heading towards teenagers, this is quite a nice little display if they become a fan of Star Wars through this film.
Indeed. And to keep things Toy Fair related, we've also had exclusive reveal of Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu Micro Galaxy Squadron Razor Crest. So obviously the Razor Crest has been in this line before. But yes, this is the Razor Crest inspired by the Mandalorian and Grogu 7-inch vehicles packed with kid-friendly action features. It's available for pre-order on February 16th. That's in Walmart America. Who knows what the crack is with the UK? I know Jazzwares has a bit of a distribution craziness in the UK. But yeah, it looks like it's the Mandalorian with a new paint job. It's looking all fresh. It's got the yellow one. Very dignified yellow, how it looks in the trailer we've seen and in the Lego set. Looks like you get the Mando and Grogu as well. It also comes with Zeb Orrelios as a pilot. So maybe giving us away the fact that we could be getting Zeb flying the Razor Crest. Do you think we'll see that, Jace?
Yeah, I've got a feeling. I think it's been alluded to in one of the teaser trailers that Zeb's going to be piloting the Razor Crest at some point. It's one of the things I am excited about with this film is obviously the inclusion of Zeb, the fact that we're going to get to see more of him, which I believe then leads into his bigger appearance in the Ahsoka season 2. So I'm really pleased to be getting Zeb. and obviously Jazzwares with their sets. It's something that I'd try and get if I saw it available, but they are a bit of a nightmare with distribution with the UK. And I do find that, with Jazzwares stuff, I don't jump on it straight away because quite often you see the prices plummet, and if you're willing to do a bit of hunting around, you can normally find it at quite a reasonable price later on. So yeah, it's an interesting one that I've got the original Razor Crest Micro Galaxy Squadron, so obviously I would be tempted to get it to go alongside this, along with my Millennium Falcons that I've got and my Slave Ones. So yeah, it does look a lot of fun, and would be potentially one that I'd try and get.
It certainly does. So, as we said, Lego have got product not just being marketed, but it will be on shelves before the movie. Jazzwares do as well. And Hasbro are also doing the same thing at the Toy Fair. So, yes, products from Maul, Shadow Lord, and the Mandalorian Grogu up for pre-order now. We can see the images of the products. The products are also at the Toy Fair to be seen in hand as well, which is fantastic. But yes, pre-orders for the Hasbro Star Wars The Vintage Collection 11th Brother. So that is the Crow, the one who Ahsoka faces in the animated show, and Marok, who of course doesn't have his Inquisitor number or name, but just his Marok. But obviously, this is Marok from Maul Shadow Lord, not Marok from Ahsoka Season 1 for Maul Shadow Lord. Plus new reveals from the Mandalorian Grogu. It was showcased at not just the Most Wanted event in New York, but also at the Toy Fair. Quite a few things have been released, but the products available to pre-order for the Mandalorian Grogu are Vintage Collection Imperial Remnant AT-AT driver, Vintage Collection Imperial Remnant AT-RT vehicle, which comes with the driver as well. So that Lego set with the AT-RT attack, we're going to get that in the Vintage Collection, 3/4 inch scale, which will be fantastic. We're getting IG-11 in the Vintage Collection. We're getting Imperial Remnant Stormtrooper in the Vintage Collection, Imperial Remnant Stormtrooper 4-pack in the Vintage Collection, the Mandalorian Grogu Deluxe together in the Vintage Collection. Black Series wise, and these are going to be available for the first time back in the yellow boxes as a first release. Sorry, yellow, I mean white. The white boxes as a first release, then also available in standard boxes. But we're getting the full whack. We're getting Colonel Ward. We're getting Imperial Remnant AT-AT driver, Imperial Remnant AT-RT driver. We're getting a Snowtrooper. We're getting a Stormtrooper. And we're getting the Black Series, the Mandalorian Grogu together deluxe. Lots of figures with images, and we've seen them in hand at the Toy Fair as well, which is fantastic. And they're available for pre-order, and they'll be on shelves before the movie comes out, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you've had a look at these figures, Jason. I know you're more Lego than I, and I'm more figures, but these figures look absolutely fantastic, both the Black Series and the Vintage Collection ones do, both for Maul and for the Mandalorian Grogu. And I think it's great to see the figures looking so good, but also the figures being marketed and being on shelves before the film comes out. So there's going to be no waiting. Essentially, we could potentially you could buy these and take them with you to the movie if you wanted to, which I love.
Yeah, I have to admit that they've hit the ball out of the park with the amount of stuff that they're bringing out just in time for the film. It's testament that they've actually picked it up, because quite often everything comes out well after the film, so the buzz is sort of gone. So whereas they haven't necessarily done what they needed to do with the trailer, with the merchandise, I think they've got a lot of really cool stuff coming out that's going to be really popular. And, there's some really cool figures there that even I would be tempted by. So, yeah, it's exciting times for getting merchandise, that's for sure.
Certainly is. The bank balance certainly doesn't like it, but the collection needs them. And like I said, the details on these Vintage Collection figures, considering how small they are, like just looking at this 11th brother, who's known as sort of the Crow-like Inquisitor, is fantastic. Marok looks fantastic. The ones on the Mandalorian Grogu look fantastic. Yes, really, really good. What I like about the Mandalorian Grogu Deluxe both in the Black Series and in the Vintage Collection, I believe. Not only comes with the jetpack and sort of the blasters, but it also comes with looks like the blades they're going to use in that gladiator fight that we've seen in the trailer. So very exciting, and a few different accessories with these figures than what we've seen in the past, which is of course what we all want, which is absolutely fantastic. Moving on from that and away from Mandalorian, Grogu and Maul, quite an awesome story. So George Lucas was named as the 4th greatest American innovator by Forbes. So yes, George Lucas has been named as the 4th greatest American innovator in a list compiled by Forbes of the top 250 living innovators in celebration of America's 250th birthday, only being beaten by Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk. So he is 4th behind those 3. So yes, one of the founding fathers of the modern blockbuster, Lucas also revolutionized movie merchandising, unleashing the never-ending tsunami of Star Wars action figures and Indiana Jones lunchboxes. Through his special effects house, Industrial Light and Magic and THX Sound Outfit, he sold his tools to other movie makers. And that's just a brief outline. But yeah, George being honoured, it's great to see. You know, and he is more than just a filmmaker. You know, don't get us wrong, he is a filmmaker and he's fantastic. He's a fantastic storyteller, but you know, ILM, what they do now, what you try to do with THX, and you know, they don't own THX anymore, but you try to revolutionise cinema sound and really help the cinemas up the experience for the moviegoers going there. The amount of stuff he gives to charity, obviously a lot of money he gives to charity, a lot of time he gives to charity. We also have the museum coming, the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art, which will be sort of the crescendo of his career, and you know, sort of not the end of his life to sound morbid, but like maybe the final chapter and what he's given to the world, if that makes sense. But yes, what's your thoughts on George being nominated and him being so high on the list?
Yeah, you know, for me, George is exactly what you say. He's an innovator, you know, and when you look at the time span, you know, his work started 50 years ago, well ahead of the guys that are above him on this list. And when you think what he gave to the movie industry, to special effects, to the ways that computers and everything were used in film and all of that sort of stuff, to me, he should go above all 3 of those. So yeah, I'm really pleased that he is being recognised, and I think it's a long time coming that people don't just look at George as the maker of Star Wars, but as the maker of a lot of things. That, you know, when you look at the films that we have now, you know, Jurassic Park would have never happened if he hadn't been innovative with all of his special effects. You know, The Matrix, a lot of the effects there, all sorts of different things that, you know, stem back from George just pushing and trying to push the boundaries all the time and just not accepting, okay, we'll do it the same way they've always done it, which is what a great innovator is. You know, he pushes the boundaries, he tries new things, and that is his legacy. So yeah, it's long deserved.
It certainly is. You know, not only did he create Star Wars and Indiana Jones as sort of story aspects, you know, but you know, Industrial Light and Magic are sort of the leader and the pioneers in not just film visual effects, but in live entertainment. You know, that ABBA show, ABBA Voyage, is all done by ILM. Absolutely fantastic. You know, Skywalker Sound, you know, with the finest sound production services on the planet, is there. George Lucas started Pixar. Not a lot of people know that. He started Pixar and sold it. But he was the creator of Pixar. So, you know, like it's pretty huge, the things that he's been a part of. Digital cinema is, you know, essentially he got the ground moving on that and really try to help cinemas into the digital age as well. But yes, George Lucas, legend. I'm glad George is getting some flowers while he's still alive to enjoy them. That is really, really positive. And I just hope the Oscars follow suit before he does. You know, while he still can enjoy it with maybe some awards for George in the meantime. I think that brings an end to all the talking points I had lined up, Jason. Is there anything Star Wars you want to talk about?
Yeah, there's something that I've yet to read it, but something that quite exciting happened this week. In that there was a Marvel one-shot comic that came out, which was Jar Jar, which obviously Jar Jar Binks has always got a lot of flack. But this comic book looks a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to reading it. But the main thing about it was obviously it was written by Mark Guggenheim, who is a well-respected author of comic books, who's done the Jedi Knight series that's been really popular recently. But he's also co-written it with Ahmed Best, who is obviously Jar Jar, and who did amazing work bringing Jar Jar to life, and also obviously voicing him throughout the Clone Wars. So it's really interesting. I've sort of read the reviews that Mark Alders put up on Jedi News, and I'd already picked up on this. But what's exciting is it also brings in the story of Keller and Beck and how they helped Grogu escape at the time of Order 66. So this is going to be quite an interesting one to read. I'm just really pleased that Ahmed's got the time or been given the opportunity to build a story of the two characters and really let them shine in the comic book world. So it's just something that, I think it's really great that they've given him that opportunity to do.
It certainly is, and I'm hoping to pick the comic up and have a read myself when I get a chance. I do have a backlog of Star Wars comic actually to read, so I do need to get caught up on those. Anything else, Jason, Star Wars wise, you want to talk about?
No, I think there's so much stuff sort of floating around at the moment, as I say, with New York Toy Fair at the moment. There's loads and loads of merchandise that's going to be coming out over the year. So it's quite fun looking through all of that. Obviously, we got the build up coming as well for Maul Shadow Lord, which I'm really, really looking forward to. So I'm looking forward to finding out more about that and getting ready to watch that. And I'm currently rewatching Andor.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Well, Jason, thank you very, very much for joining me today. May the force be with you.
And you always.
And listeners, thank you very, very much for listening. May the force be with you. And remember, always tell that to Kanja Club.